Welcome to this first in a two-part series looking at what hinders us as church leaders from helping our churches engage more effectively in mission. In this particular episode we're going to be looking at busyness and how busyness can crowd out the priority that we need to give to mission. Do you know, one of the biggest difficulties that I think I face in ministry is not in terms of my prayer life or in my Bible study or anything like that. Busyness gets in the way. I don't have time to think strategically about where the church should go, how it should be more effective in engagement, and it becomes frustrating. I'd almost go so far as to say it feels like it's a conspiracy of the evil one to prevent us from moving forward. It doesn't matter how big your church is or how small your church is, you can find yourself in a situation where the demands from day to day just outweigh the time you've got to be able to move the church forward. And that's a real problem. It's something that we need to think about seriously as church leaders. How do we carve out enough space in our day and enough time in our week to be able to actually think strategically, to helicopter above the daily demands and think about what's new that needs to happen and what needs to stop? So that's the challenge for this week. That's the thought for this week. How are you carving out the time necessary in order to help your church move forward? What are you doing to think strategically? So if the challenge is busyness, then what's the solution? And I guess to state the blooming obvious, the solution is to make more time. And that's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult because we tend to find that we are dictated to by the tyranny of the urgent, those things that seemingly need to be done. And there are many of those in ministry, as I'm sure you've found out. But you know, one of the things that I've learnt, I think, over the years is that actually I'm not called to be a general practitioner. I'm not called to do everything that is required by everyone in the life of the church. I'm not called to maintain the status quo. What I am called to do is to lead the church forward, to put mission at the heart of the church and the church at the heart of mission. And that means that some things in my church don't actually get done by me. Yes, I organise them. Yes, I make sure that they're covered, but I don't do them myself. Sometimes that leads to unpopularity, but it does mean that I create the space to be able to do other things, to be able to model other values, and to help my church begin to engage in projects that meet need within the local community. It's not easy, it's not always popular, but it is necessary. And so if the challenge is busyness, then I guess the priority is that we find out what we're called to do, how we're called to think strategically in order that we might lead, and then we do it with all our hearts. The difficulty for many of us is that we feel insecure. We feel that if we do that, we will gain the ire of the congregation. And because they pay the bills, that's something that sometimes we feel unable to risk. But faith is spelt risk, and leadership is about courting sometimes unpopularity in order to do what God wants us to do. And so if there's a challenge, then the answer is that we rise to meet the challenge. I hope you'll comment below. If you enjoyed this video, then share it with others. Press the like button because that really helps us. And give us your ideas. Tell us how you're combating busyness and the pressures and demands that there are in regular ministry in order that you might be more effective in leading your church in mission.